Alright guys, so welcome to the Hellsing Q&A. As always, I want to thank everyone who did send me in questions for this Q&A, and if you'd like to be part of the next one, just hit the link in the description box below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier, that'll allow you access to do so. But as always, hope you all enjoy this, and let's get started with the first set of questions that come from Bill McLaughlin, who asks, aside from the Major, who was your favorite member of Millennium? I think like the cast of the villains of Millennium are all pretty cool and very despicable, and you love to hate them. But I think it's kind of a tie between Juan Valentine, because of just how fucking just hilariously evil he is, and Rip Van Winkle. Those would probably be it's a tie between Van Winkle and Juan. That's my my personal take. Third question. Do you ever think that the Battle of London would have gone differently if the Iscariot organization joined forces with the Hellsing organization instead of going on their Ninth Crusade? Yeah, it probably would have turned the tide of war on a higher level. It definitely would have absolutely crushed Millennium, but of course the Catholic Church is going to do what the Catholic Church does best, which is fuck everything up and also do horrendous people to young children. But that's neither here nor there. Third question. How would you do an a la carte miniseries that would feature the original Van Helsing? Ooh, I like this. So as we saw in little bits and pieces of Hellsing, we do know that Abraham was a older man. So I think what I'd like to do is we always talk about Van Helsing as an older statesman. I'd like to see a Van Helsing learning as both a scientist and basically be a professor, but also learn about vampires. Not so much about monster hunting, but more about how he became knowledgeable of vampires as both a scientist and as a man of the occult. I'd like to see that kind of keeping his mind open enough to these possibilities, and maybe even have him battle or other vampires, or even counter Dracula himself. That'd be kind of cool. Although honestly, you could make that work even without being a Hellsing tie-in. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Bill. Moving on now to Cyborg 19.99, who asks, Alucard versus Dante, who would win? I don't know, because Dante is pretty powerful, but Alucard could definitely, hold his own. I really don't know who could win. This one would be kind of a toss-up, because both have their own skills and whatnot. Second question. What other anime, cartoons, video games, and movies would you cross over with Hellsing? Jesus Christ, this feels like such a cheap question every time. Anyway, anime, Black Lagoon. I'd say for cartoon, maybe Danny Phantom to make it interesting. Video game, Far Cry, and Indiana Jones for movie. Who is your favorite character in Hellsing beside Alucard? Beside Alucard, I would probably say Integra, because she is the definition of a bad bitch. So, I do like there are a lot of other characters, like Walter, even when he turned traitor. Alexander Anderson's also a badass, but, Integra Hellsing is the definition of bad bitch. So, I would dare say that, yeah, if it wasn't for Alucard, it'd be Integra. So thank you for those questions, Cyborg. Moving on to Brittany Digger, who asks, what would Alucard and Ceres think of the Twilight series? They'd probably burn the books. I'm not for book burning, but I do imagine that there would be some serious book burning going on in this establishment. Second question. Have you read or seen Hellsing: The Dawn? I have not. I have never seen or read it. I don't know what that is. I'm surprised. I usually keep my ear to the ground on certain things, but apparently not this time. Did you know that several Hellsing characters came from the creator Hirano's Doshojin works? Yeah, I heard of it. And definitely knowing how Hirano-san, definitely how he draws characters, especially women, I wouldn't put it past him, you know? Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for those questions, Brittany. Moving on now to Gordon Rajani, who asks, if you could have Alucard fight in any war beside World War II, what would you put him in? Ooh, I like this. Rather than World War II, I think it'd be kind of cool to see Alucard in... Well, if we're gonna have like other wars, like I think it would be kind of cool to see Alucard in Vietnam, like kind of like Blood Plus, like Vietnam vampire. But rather than like decked out in all dressy clothes, he's just wearing like fatigues and whatnot, and has like a Born to Kill helmet or something. I just think I'd kind of like to see Alucard dressed as like someone from Nam. For other wars, I would dare say that I'd like to see Alucard in the not World War I. I would like to see Alucard in the well, what was that war? Shit. The Boer War would be interesting. Maybe even... There was a war in like the... It was like... Damn it, it was some war in Central Europe that was almost like considered like a world war. I can't remember that one, but that'd be cool. Third question. Which anime did you think which anime do you think did Sarah's vampire arc better? Ultimate or the original anime? Not asking about which show you prefer, but which one had the better arc for Saris. I think both have their merits. I'm not one of those people who hate the original anime, and I'll delve more into it because I saw a question from someone else on it. But I would say that Saris's arc is handled better in Ultimate, while I do think that like the original series and how it handled Saris pretty well, I do think she gets cast in the wayside. But here, like that's kind of the Ultimate is very much like the underlying thing of Saris is trying to find herself as a character, and they really handled themselves really well. Yeah. Totally. And there was a second question, but I did skip over it because it was just me kind of answering the same question over again, so sorry, Gordon. But yeah, I would say Ultimate. Thank you for those questions, though. Moving on to the next set, and that comes from Mount Vernon Kid. Chris, how are you, brother? And weirdly enough, Chris asked me 4 questions, trying to be cheeky, but you got to play by the rules too, brother. I can't make exceptions. No, sorry. The first one oh, sorry, I was just looking there. How would Alucard look at Dracula from the Castlevania world? I don't know. I think like this is gonna sound weird, but I think he would think you got to be happy. You got I think Alucard would be kind of jealous of Castlevania Dracula, where he's like, you got to be happy, you got to have all of this, and I was robbed of everything. I don't know if he'd like, oh, you're not a real vampire, because that Dracula could still back it up, but still, I think it'd be weird to say, but I think he'd be like angry that that Dracula got everything. Second question: imagine a meeting between Alucard and D. That would be really cool. I think that would be kind of a neat meetup. I think Alucard does have a hate spot for hybrids, so could be interesting either way. Third question. What would you rather read? A Hellsing Spawn crossover, a Hellsing Blade crossover, or Hellsing Etrigan? All of them sound really good. I would say, though, if I was to pick one, I would say Hellsing Spawn. On the grounds of Alucard, and the idea of Alucard and Spawn meeting is just too good of a comic image, and also to see like Todd McFarlane. Like, I know I give McFarlane nothing but shit, but I would love to see a Todd McFarlane drawn Alucard, or even like Todd McFarlane with Greg Capullo or Brett Booth. like having some like comic artists draw Alucard that work in the Spawn wheelhouse would be really cool to see. Or even maybe have Kitaro Hirano draw Spawn. Tell me that's not like what you would like. People would want that, right? I would also say like because Hellsing Blade is kind of basic, so I would say Hellsing Etrigan would be my second one, if only to see Alucard encounter like something other than a vampire. That's kind of why I kind of lean towards Spawn as well. I do think that would be, and again, the idea of having like Todd McFarlane or Brett Booth or Greg Capullo or one of the other wheelhouse writers for the Spawn books draw Alucard, I think that would kind of work in of itself. And plus, maybe McFarlane Toys Hellsing Hellsing toy line. I like that. Next set of questions. Thank you for those questions, though, Chris. Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, who asks, would the Major fall to Khorne given his love for war and bloodthirsty personality, or Tzeentch given his convoluted plans? It'd be Khorne. I would, like, Tzeentch, you do make a good point of, like, the plan is overly convoluted, and as the memes go, Tzeentch's plans are just too fucking hard to understand. I will say, though, it'd be Khorne, because Khorne would not care where the blood comes from. It was very much there is a story of a tech priest who invented a machine that would destroy planets, and he did it in the name of Khorne, and even though tech priests aren't known for, like, their levels of violence, shall we say, Khorne still, like, caught his attention. It still caught Khorne's attention, because he was, like, doing this in the name of Khorne and killing all these people and causing the blood to flow. Because Khorne does not care where the blood flows, so long as it flows. Second question. If either or both Chaos Gods offered the Major Demon Princehood, would the Major take them up on that offer, since he utterly rejected vampirism in himself and still saw himself as a fundamental human? That would be the same thing. I think it would be like either if any of the Chaos Gods tried to offer offered the Major either of those things, it would be very much the whole thing of, hey, I'm still human, I reject your, your offers, I reject your trinkets and whatnot. So that's kind of how I see it. Third question. You've mentioned in the past that in your fanfic universe, the Infinityverse, that Sibella is Alucard's daughter. What is her relationship with her father and Ceres Victoria like? So yeah, this is an Infinityverse question. Basically, in the Infinityverse, the shared fanfiction universe, me and my friend Jason Voorhees 2011 work on together. Basically, in the Infinityverse, Sibella from Ghoul School, and the other Ghoul School characters are reinvented in here as kind of like a task force. We did a Task Force M before James Gunn, just saying. But yeah, they're basically a squad of monsters who are actually called Task Force M, under the command of Will Do and the Global Justice Network. They handle, they're kind of like, they're a multitask team. They are both like the Suicide Squad. They're also meant as like countermeasures against superhuman threats from the League, from the Infinity League, the main superhero team. And among them, Sibella is the daughter of, it is the daughter of Dracula, and thereby she is Alucard's daughter. Now, I'm not going to go too much into details, because there are a few things, but just to let you guys know, her and Alucard aren't on speaking terms. Yeah, she's aware that he is the agent of Hellsing, and he's been away for a while. But yeah, they are not, Ceres right now has no knowledge, because Alucard's like, you're the servant, I don't have to tell you shit. So Ceres doesn't know about Sibella. Alucard is aware. He knows Sibella is his kid. But the thing of it is, like I said, they are not on... All I'm going to say is they are not on speaking terms. That's all I'm going to say on that, because I don't want to go too deep into matters. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Dominic Fuentes, who asked, what would Hydra think of the Millennium Organization? I think they would look at them as small potatoes. Like, really, Hydra is kind of a multi-international group who have multiple fingers in the pie, whereas they'll look at Millennium and be like, Jesus, this is a waste of resources. This just feels ungodly unnecessary, and none of this really works. Second question, what is your favorite Hellsing episode? Ooh, okay. Favorite Hellsing episode? Oh boy. I would dare say that I think my favorite Hellsing episode is probably something along the lines of, well, I think my favorite Hellsing episode, I think the favorite Hellsing episode is when Alucard goes to Brazil and encounters the Dandy Man and all of that. I kind of like that setting, and also just how, it kind of really showcased that, oh, Alucard is a fucking monster. Also, I do like the episode of his first fight with Alexander. Anyway, thank you for that question. What would happen if Doomslayer appears in the Hellsing universe, and would Millennium Organization be scared shitless? Not really, because maybe the basic troops would be scared, but on a whole, I really don't think that the higher ups, because that's all they're built for war. The whole thing is just be one big mindless war, so it wouldn't really be an effect on anything, if I'm being honest. So thank you for those questions, Dominique. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, do you prefer the original anime or the Ultimate? I like both. Like, there are things in the original anime that aren't really good. I acknowledge that, but there is like a charm to it. It was like when growing up, it was one of my first like really dark animes that I really watched, and I was like, oh damn, this shows that anime can go darker than initially thought, which I wasn't naive to, but I was like, this is my first time seeing like a really like more mature anime in my life, and I'm speaking of course the original series. I recently rewatched the entire original anime, and by God, Incognito's an interesting villain, but like at the same time, they really deviate from the original anime, and the story really dips at the end. I still think it's kind of fun in some places. So but Ultimate has both great animation. It is really good. I think the one thing that they did best was that the original anime really had, and I'm glad they revisited for the for Hellsing Ultimate, was they nailed in the original series, and to a point that they brought the original like 90% of the original cast back for Ultimate, was they nailed the voice acting for the English dub voice acting. Yeah, that's the big thing right there, is that they just absolutely nailed the the voice acting for English dub. So, but I will still say Ultimate. Second question, how do you think Alucard would react to Count Orlok, the Bill Skarsgård version? I would say that he would probably react to him as like, you are a very sad copy. Like, you are a sad, rotting corpse of a copy of a corpse. Third question. If there was ever a sequel series to Hellsing similar to Inuyasha getting a sequel years later, how would you like to see from it? What would you like to see from it? Well, I think what would be interesting is that maybe have it be like, because there's like a 20-year gap between the end of the show and in the episode. Like, we find out it's been 20 years since Alucard's been missing, and it's just been Saris and Integra running the show. So I think it'd be kind of cool to talk about that 20-year gap. There's no Alucard. The Hellsing organization's kind of in disarray, and now Saris now has to pick up the pieces and keep... Is it 20 or 30 years? Anyway, that gap is what I'm saying. Like, I think it would be kind of cool to see, like, Saris grow as a character, like grow further and see her become like the vampire we like on the almost the same level as Alucard. I think that would be really awesome to see Saris like take the reins. So yeah, there you go. Thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, when you look at Alucard's design, do you see a bit of Vash the Stampede from Trigun, especially with the red jacket and similar glasses? Yeah, I think that was kind of on purpose. I think the creators were friends. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that they were actually friends and like kind of copied each designs. Second question. I think the reason why there's a bit of comedy is because the show is that it's bloody, gory, and very dark themes. And you do need a breather sometimes to help the audience calm a little bit after watching so much intensity. Do you agree on that? Yeah. I also do think though that Kitaro Hirano really has some like random ass humor that like starts and stops out of nowhere. Like at least with with Deadpool, like it's a comedy through and through with the blood and violence. But here, it's like these overtly dark, bloody moments, and then it's just suddenly out of nowhere a funny moment. And then we get back to the violence. Like, it's just, like, so breakneck. Third question. In terms of ranking, where would you rank Alucard when it comes to other versions of Dracula? Probably in the top 5. I don't know where I'd rank specifically, but I would say definitely 100% in the top 5. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, what would happen if Indiana Jones, the Major, had an encounter in one of the scenarios set before or during World War II? I think the Major would work as a cool villain for Indiana Jones. It would probably go the route of a lot of the other Nazis that Indiana Jones has punched. Because remember, kids, it's okay to punch Nazis. They're Nazis. They're evil. You can just punch them. Second question. What would Alucard think of Belos? I think he would just be like, you gave up your humanity for a vanity project, and also you are basically you're basically nothing but a shell of a human. Like, kind of like, I think he would view it as like his disgust and disappointment in Anderson when he turned himself into a monster with the nail of Christ. That's how I kind of see it. Third question. What are your thoughts on the character of Schrodinger? It's alright. Everywhere and nowhere. And also being like the poison for the perfect poison for Alucard. Alright. Thank you for those questions, Hunter. Moving on now to David Deister, who asks, who would be the perfect director for a live-action Hellsing? I would dare say the director, who is the director for some reason, like, I'd like to have one of the John Wick directors. Or, I don't want to say Mike. People are going to say, he's going to pick Mike Flanagan. As much as I love Mike Flanagan, I don't think he'd be the right choice for it. I would say that maybe have... it was the director of the John Wick movies. Was it Jason? It was Jason something. I would also say maybe have... here's another thing. I think there are really good... There's one really good director I think would be cool and I think he could work here, but I can't pronounce his name. He did the Taiwanese and Indonesian segments in VHS. Those would be really cool. Also, I would even say Adam Wingard, the director of You're Next and... of course, the two of the Godzilla movies, Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla X Kong in the Monsterverse. Adam Wingard, who had done Blair Witch as well as, that awful Death Note one. But the more I hear about it, the more it doesn't really feel like his fault how that thing happened the way it did. So I would kind of, and I know people are going to be like, he fucked up Blair Witch and... Death Note. I think that would make people real in real life as the Death Note one. But I would say I think he could actually rock it with Hellsing. Anyway, favorite episode. I already talked about that, so I'm going to skip it. What would Hellsing think of IMP from Hell of a Boss? Fucking shoot them. This is the most unethical, poorly run shit show I've ever seen. Shoot all of them. So there you go, guys. That is pretty much the Hellsing Q&A. I want to thank everyone for sending in questions, and like I said before, if you guys would like to have if you guys would like to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so. But other than that, hope you all enjoy this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.